Hello everyone and welcome back. I know it's been a long while since I've actually uploaded anything, but we really need to talk about what happened at Snetterton at the last race of the season. So the journey was just like any other journey heading to the track. I was super pumped up. I was really looking forward to this one. Obviously Snetterton being my home track, only 35 minutes down the road. I was really hoping to get a good result, especially the last race of the season. However, it just wasn't meant to be. So we ended up having to replace the clutch after free practice as it decided to split itself into about 5-6 different pieces. We did manage to get a clutch off another competitor, however, so that was super handy. We did get it all bolted in, we did get it all bolted up, and driving lined up on the grid for the first race. However, our issues still weren't completely resolved. However, before we tackle that, I just want to take you around and show you what I've done. I've also cleaned up a few things. So this grille I have painted up nice and black. Same with this scuttle panel. Now, the original scuttle panel, I'd cut far too much of the material away for the kill switch and the extinguisher. So I've done a much neater job. It's still not perfect, but it's definitely a lot neater now. So that looks really good. Obviously, the whole car could do with a real good clean because it's been, well, a season long of ups and downs. I've also rewrapped this boot because I had this corner here peeling away. It just didn't look very nice at all. So not a fantastic job, but considering I did it by myself, it actually looks a lot more presentable. The whole car itself is really clean and I'm really happy. It just, yeah, like I say, could do with a good scrub up at the end of the season. But unfortunately, things like the headlights had started to become really cloudy. So I've given that one a sand up and a polish. However, there's still loads of marks all over it, so I need to attack that again. This is what it looked like before, where I put the X tape a couple of seasons ago, didn't get it all off, and it's now stuck. So these are still the originals in on units, which are actually worth a fair bit of money, but I'm going to be keeping them on the car because I just, yeah, why not? I've got them, they're still in good condition, so let's leave them on there. So let's get this drive shaft in, and hopefully that is everything ready for next season. Okay, so here is the drive shaft in question, and there's a drip of oil right here, so I'm not sure if it's actually coming out. Yeah, I think it's coming out of this end, where this plate is, rather than actually at the back, which is annoying. It's fine, obviously it just means that we are going to have to replace this drive shaft. There's nothing actually wrong with the drive shaft. I think it just needs these boots replacing. These are JR drive shafts, and it's quite a common fault, in all fairness, for the boots to fail. I've got another brand spanking new boot, or drive shaft, that was used for 2 races, and this boot here, the outer boot, had split, and all the grease was everywhere. I'm not surprised if this one's done the same. I've actually got some replacement boots for the outers, CV joints. So again, obviously when I sell the car, they will definitely be included for the new owner, but I am going to replace this drive shaft, and I might actually replace the outer CV boot on the other side, just so I know, peace of mind, that is all done. Then, once the drive shaft has been replaced, I'm going to get the new toy and jet wash all underneath, because it is absolutely covered in gearbox oil. Okay, so I have removed the centre nut, I've removed both nuts on the wishbone for the ball joint so I could move this out of the way, but I've just stumbled upon something which might explain everything. So this little thing here is like a pressure switch. Here's what it's supposed to look like. That in the middle. It's going to read how much pressure the gearbox oil, I think, is what it does. But obviously that's missing, and the plug and everything is missing. And there was just a hole going straight through the gearbox. So I'm now pretty sure that's where the fluid had come from. So I'm actually going to leave this gearbox, leave the drive shaft in place, and I'm going to swap out that, and I'm pretty sure that's the problem. Which is good, because now the new owner is going to have still a lovely spare drive shaft. So let's get this swapped out. Okay, so there we go. I have just took this off, and look, see-through, hole. So that's where all the fluid had come from. So that drive shaft is good. So I've put the new one in place. I'm now going to bolt everything back together, and we'll fill it with gearbox fluid. Okay, so in anticipation of replacing the drive shaft, I completely drained the gearbox fluid again. And I did buy this time a brand new sump plug and lovely washer. So that's going to be nice and sealed. Always recommend replacing them when you do a gearbox fluid change. Now, I did used to fill the gearbox fluid up with this. So suck the fluid up, push the fluid in. However, on Amazon, I found this for about 15 quid, I think. 10, 15 quid. I'll put a link in the description below because it is super helpful. So obviously you fill it up, it does a litre at a time, and then you just pump it up and it'll squeeze the fluid out. So I'm going to put this lovely new sump in, and then we'll get this filled up and get the gearbox done. Okay, so with everything back together, I turned the car on, I ran it for a good 10 minutes, I put it in all the gears and I gave it a rev because I wanted to make sure that the wheels span up, and I wanted to see if that drive shaft was in fact leaking, or whether it literally was just that pressure sender unit. And it turns out it literally was that pressure sender unit, which completely makes sense as there's now a hole in the side of the gearbox. Obviously that second-hand replacement unit I had on a spare gearbox, luckily laying around, is now in. That's not leaking anymore. But unfortunately, that did kind of scupper my race. That wasn't the only reason, because once again, the kill switch failed. I'd done about 3 laps of the only race that I entered that race weekend, race 1, and I'd overtook a car, did turn 1, then whilst my foot was still flat on the throttle, it kept bogging as if it was cutting out, and I managed to make it all the way around the lap, pulled into the pit lane. As soon as I dumped the clutch, it died. There was no power at all, no lights on the dash, no nothing. So I gave this a wiggle, still nothing. Gave the engine bay, all the electricals a wiggle, still nothing. But by the time I then gone back to the kill switch, gave this another fiddle, turned it back on, all the lights suddenly appeared. And I managed to replicate the fault with this still in place. So I've already swapped that out, but that was really frustrating because this is now the second one in a year that's failed on me. So this time I did go to a more reputable brand. I went through Demon Tweaks. It cost me twice as much as this one did, but hopefully it's going to last twice as long, if not a lot longer than that. So there is still a few bits and pieces I want to get done on this car before sadly putting it up for sale, and one of the things is replacing one of the engine exhaust mounts. That's the one, not a gearbox, not an engine, exhaust mount. So these are pretty cheap and nasty, to be fair. When I replaced the exhaust system last year for a K-Tech unit, I did replace both of these. However, the near side one has failed again. It's just, well, basically that's non-existent anymore, and the gearbox is sort of sagging. So we'll get that replaced. Plus, I want to get this wheeled out, and I want to jet wash all underneath the car, because I'm not kidding, that gearbox fluid managed to go everywhere, all the way throughout the back of the car. When I finished just doing those 3 laps, there was gearbox fluid all over the rear screen. So obviously that really does need to be addressed, but we'll get this fitted up first, then we'll put it out and we'll get it jet washed, and then sadly that'll be it. The car will be up for sale. Okay, so that's it. The car is done. It's ready to race again. Next season, it's ready. It just won't be me driving it, and I am gutted. I am gutted. This is to learn. Especially for learning your racecraft, because everyone's so close together. It's absolutely fantastic. Obviously we've had a few bumps and scrapes along the way, but you know, that happens. So yeah, it's been an absolute blast building, tinkering and racing this car. However, it is time to move on. Like I say, obviously getting married next year, probably wouldn't have got a lot of track time. Year after that, probably honeymoon and bits and pieces anyway. So it's definitely going to be at least a 2-season break. However, it's not the end of my racing career. I will be building something else, and as I said, I think the Clio series is absolutely fantastic. So what I might do is move on into the 197/200 Clio, which they are now adding for next season. So I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for one of them, and I would definitely like to build one of them. So thank you very much for watching. Thanks for watching all of the Clio content, races, me fixing it after I've broke it. Yeah, until the next time, thank you very much for watching. See you in the next one.